What started as a simple versus challenge turned into one of the most explosive, personal, and generational rap wars of 2026. When 50 Cent and T.I. reignited old tension, no one expected it to spiral into family insult, viral graveyard photos, coordinated diss tracks, and even a police department stepping in to calm the chaos. But when King Harris entered the battlefield, this stopped being just another rap beef. It became a war that shook the entire internet. The entire situation started with what should have been a monumental celebration of hip-hop culture, a potential versus battle that had all the ingredients of a historic moment. Versus, created during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic by Swizz Beatz and Timbaland, emerged as a cultural phenomenon at a time when the world was locked indoors and craving connection. What began as friendly Instagram live battles between producers quickly evolved into a polished digital arena where legendary artists stood toe-to-toe, trading their biggest hits in front of millions of viewers worldwide. It wasn't just about music, it was about legacy, nostalgia, and cultural pride. When T.I. publicly proposed a versus showdown with 50 Cent, fans immediately understood the magnitude of what was being suggested. This wasn't just another battle, it symbolized a clash of regions, eras, and influence. Atlanta versus New York, the South versus Queens. On one side stood T.I., widely recognized as one of the architects of trap music and a dominant force in Southern hip-hop throughout the 2000s. On the other stood 50 Cent, the Queens mogul who reshaped mainstream rap with his gritty storytelling, business acumen, and undeniable commercial dominance. The cultural weight of that matchup alone was enough to send social media into a frenzy. Both artists possessed deep catalogs filled with chart-topping hits, street anthems, and club classics. Fans imagined round after round of explosive records, each song sparking debates about impact, longevity, and influence. It felt like the type of versus event that could break streaming records and reignite discussions about regional supremacy in hip-hop. According to T.I., the idea wasn't random or impulsive. He claimed that discussions had already taken place behind closed doors. In his version of events, the battle had been talked about privately, and 50 Cent had supposedly agreed to let T.I. make the first public announcement before stepping in to confirm it himself. From T.I.'s perspective, there was an understanding, maybe even a handshake agreement, and that this would unfold in a coordinated way. But when T.I. went public with the proposal, things didn't play out as he expected. Instead of confirming the battle or acknowledging the prior conversation, 50 Cent responded in a way that caught many people off guard. True to his reputation for trolling and sharp humor, 50 treated the situation like comedy. He posted jokes, he brushed it off, he made light of the idea rather than validating it. To some fans, it looked like classic 50, playful, strategic, and always in control of the narrative. But to T.I., it landed differently. What might have appeared humorous on the surface felt, to T.I., like public dismissal. If there had truly been a private understanding, then 50's jokes weren't just jokes. They were a denial. And in hip-hop culture, public perception matters, respect matters, image matters. Being laughed at instead of taken seriously can feel like a slight, especially when pride and legacy are involved. From that moment on, the tone shifted. T.I. began addressing the situation more directly in interviews and podcast appearances. He made it clear that he believed 50 Cent was backing away from something that had already been discussed. At times, his comments carried an edge. He suggested that 50 didn't want the smoke, implying that 50 might be avoiding a competitive clash he wasn't confident he could win. Those statements added fuel to the fire, reframing what had started as a musical celebration into something that felt personal. Meanwhile, 50 Cent maintained his signature style, half amused, half dismissive. Rather than escalating with aggression, he leaned further into humor and indifference. But in the court of public opinion, indifference can be interpreted in many ways. Was he unbothered because he felt above it, or was he dodging the challenge? Fans debated endlessly. As the back and forth continued, it became clear that this wasn't just about a versus event anymore. It had transformed into a subtle but very public power struggle. Both men had built empires beyond music. Both had reputations as businessmen and cultural figures, not just rappers. Agreeing to a battle meant stepping into a space where comparisons would be unavoidable. Every hit would be measured. Every era would be dissected. And in hip-hop, legacy is everything. For T.I., participating could reaffirm his place among rap's elite. For 50 Cent, whose commercial peak was arguably one of the biggest in hip-hop history, stepping into the arena meant risking comparison in a format that emphasized catalog depth over first-week sales. Pride and positioning were now intertwined with the idea of competition. What made the situation more compelling was that Verzuz had already proven capable of uniting rivals and rekindling old respect. Artists who once had tension had shared virtual stages and celebrated each other's contributions. The format had often ended with mutual admiration rather than hostility. That's what made this fallout feel different. Instead of moving toward camaraderie, the conversation drifted toward confrontation. The irony is that the very thing that could have created a timeless hip-hop moment instead exposed the fragile balance between ego and collaboration. Hip-hop has always thrived on competition. From lyrical battles to chart rivalries, competition fuels greatness. But there's a thin line between healthy rivalry and personal offense. In this case, that line blurred quickly. As weeks passed, the battle never materialized. No official announcement came. No flyers were released. No date was set. The hype slowly faded, replaced by commentary and speculation. What remained, however, was the tension, a lingering sense that something bigger had unfolded behind the scenes. In the end, what began as a potential celebration of artistry turned into a reminder of how delicate status and respect can be in a culture built on dominance and recognition. The Verzuz platform was designed to honor legacies, but in this instance, it became the spark for a subtle feud. There was no stage, no microphones, no round-by-round showdown, yet the conflict played out publicly in interviews, captions, and carefully worded remarks. The battle never happened, but in many ways, the war, fueled by pride, perception, and the unspoken politics of hip-hop hierarchy, had already begun. The beef crossed a dangerous line when 50 Cent brought family into it. In response to T.I.'s comments, 50 posted an unflattering image of T.I.'s wife, Tamika "Tiny" Harris, with a caption warning T.I. to keep his name out of his mouth. In hip-hop, rapper versus rapper is fair game. But dragging a spouse into the conflict changes everything. 50 continued posting memes and captions that many interpreted as shots at T.I.'s children, intensifying the situation. The internet quickly split into sides. Some defended 50's trolling style, arguing that this is what he's always done, psychological warfare through humor and humiliation. Others believed he had crossed a line that shouldn't be crossed. Meanwhile, T.I. began previewing new music, hinting at lyrical retaliation. The atmosphere shifted from playful tension to calculated hostility. And then something unusual happened. 50 deleted some of the posts. For someone known for never backing down or cleaning up his Instagram, that move stood out. Whether it was strategic, legal advice, or something else, it signaled that this conflict had entered more serious territory. The moment that truly ignited the internet came when 21-year-old King Harris stepped in. In a fiery selfie-style video, he directly confronted 50 Cent and defended his mother. But he didn't use coded language or clever wordplay. He went straight to the most sensitive part of 50's life, his late mother, Sabrina Jackson, who passed away when 50 was just 8 years old. King repeatedly told 50 to stop playing with my mama and challenged him in a way that shocked viewers. He even shared images referencing grave sites connected to 50's family. Within hours, the video racked up millions of views, and social media exploded. Supporters argued that a son defending his mother has every right to respond fiercely when she's disrespected. Critics argued that invoking a deceased parent crosses an irreversible line, no matter the circumstances. Either way, the damage was done. King didn't stop at one video. He launched a full social media campaign, posting memes, resurfacing old controversies from 50's past, and directly targeting his family. This was no longer just two veteran rappers clashing. This had become generational warfare, with a new voice stepping into the spotlight. What started online soon moved into the studio. King released a diss track titled Made Man, positioning himself as a defender of family honor. Around the same time, T.I. dropped tracks like War and The Right One, taking calculated lyrical shots at 50. The coordination was impossible to ignore. Father handling the music with veteran precision, son controlling the social media battlefield with raw emotion. Meanwhile, T.I. continued promoting his upcoming album, using the heightened attention to build momentum. On the other side, 50 appeared calm and unfazed, responding mostly with laughing emojis and memes, a classic move from someone who has survived beefs with major names across the industry. But observers noticed that some of his more aggressive posts had disappeared. For a man who typically leaves every shot standing, that detail raised eyebrows. The situation had grown so large that even the South Fulton Police Department jokingly addressed it online. clarifying that they would not be dispatching officers over vocabulary disputes. When a rap feud reaches the point where law enforcement has to publicly comment, even humorously, you know it has spilled far beyond music blogs and into mainstream culture. The tension between 50 Cent and T.I. didn't appear overnight. Its roots stretch back nearly 20 years, shaped by industry competition, ego, regional pride, and subtle accusations that never fully disappeared. While their disagreements were never always explosive, there was always an undercurrent, a sense that respect between them was conditional at best. Over time, interviews, subliminal comments, and competitive comparisons kept the rivalry alive in quiet ways. But in 2026, the dynamic shifted dramatically. What was once a clash between two rap heavyweights evolved into something more layered and more personal because now the next generation is involved. King Harris, T.I.'s son, wasn't even born when the early friction between his father and 50 Cent first surfaced. Yet today, he finds himself standing in the center of the most viral and emotionally charged chapter of their feud. Social media has amplified everything. Clips circulate instantly. Old interviews resurface within minutes. Diss tracks spread across platforms before artists can even process the backlash. For King, this isn't history, it's present tense. And unlike past exchanges between 50 and T.I., this time the defense feels personal, almost protective. King's aggressive responses online have added fuel to the situation. His tone signals loyalty and pride, but it also reflects the intensity of a younger generation raised in a digital era where reputation is defended publicly and immediately. Each post, each live session, and each clip has contributed to the sense that this feud is no longer just about music or status. It's about family honor. That shift changes everything. Meanwhile, Tiny Harris has remained publicly silent. Her quiet presence adds another layer of intrigue to the story. In moments like this, silence can mean many things: strategy, restraint, or simply choosing not to escalate a public situation. While King continues speaking out and defending his father, T.I. has taken a noticeably calmer approach online. He has posted family-centered content, peaceful moments, normal interactions, subtle reminders of stability. It's a contrast to the chaos unfolding across timelines and blogs. Whether intentional or not, those posts send a message. The household is grounded, even if the internet is on fire. But the internet doesn't forget. The footage, the diss tracks, the deleted posts, and the viral reactions are archived permanently. Screenshots live forever. Reaction videos dissect every word. Even when posts disappear, they continue circulating. That permanence means this chapter won't simply fade away. It will remain part of both artists' narratives moving forward. Now, the real question isn't whether the beef exists. It clearly does. The question is how it ends. Does it circle back to a long-rumored versus battle, turning tension into competition on a stage? Does it escalate into more diss records and sharper public shots? Or does an unexpected truce emerge, perhaps behind closed doors, away from cameras and comments? One thing is certain: when family, trauma, and legacy enter the equation, the situation stops being simple entertainment. It becomes emotional, it becomes generational, and history has shown that 50 Cent rarely lets things slide without a response. This story isn't over, it's evolving, and the next chapter may be even more defining than the last.